All right, this is your Tuesday evening tropical update here. Taking a look at the tropical satellite in the Gulf. The NHC maintains a 40% chance of development here over the next 48 hours. That has not changed actually since yesterday, so not a whole lot of confidence that this will ramp up or become something more so than what we've originally thought. So we're going to break this down. We're going to start with a look at kind of the composite radar in the northeastern Gulf. And you can see here the center of this is just now moving back over the open waters south of Tallahassee. Good bit of lightning with this, but again, most of the rain is displaced from the center to the south and offshore at this time. A couple bands moving through the Wiregrass and Florida Big Bend area, but really nothing of note. Again, it's just rain. I think if we weren't calling this an invest or giving anything like a name, I don't know that this would be much more than something that we would say, hey, here's a rainmaker. It's going to be a soaking rain, and that's about it. Let's take a look at the spaghetti plots for this. And what this is doing is taking several models and just kind of plotting where it's going to be. When you see them in a line like this, that's a good thing. That's high confidence in model data, and basically it's going to hug the Gulf Coast, literally right along the coast the next couple of days, before turning north over Louisiana and then fizzling out over the Ark-La-Tex region in the Mississippi Delta by Saturday afternoon. So this is a look now at probabilities of seeing tropical depression wind. Basically what this model's doing is it's showing us the potential to see this develop into a tropical depression. You can see here it's about 90%. And I said yesterday, and I still think this is the case, that this will end up being a tropical depression at some point, probably Thursday or Friday, if I had to guess. And it's going to sound scarier than it is. It just means the central, right around the center of the low, you're going to have winds that, are a little bit more organized, maybe gusting 30, 35. But that'll be right near the center. Most folks don't experience winds like that at all. And the central pressure is not very impressive. I think that the lowest pressure I saw in model runs was around 1,002 millibars, which is not a very low center, and the higher that center pressure is, the less intense it is. So again, bottom line, I'm not expecting a ton from this. This is a look at tropical storm winds, and again, that's an even lesser, so about a 10 to 20% chance of that coming to fruition. All right, so let's go to some model data. This is the European model, which has been pretty consistent with this, so that's the one I'm going to use here. This is beginning tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, 5 a.m., and you can see where that low is depicted. Again, it's just a mass of rain, and notice the displacement of rain to the south of center, which puts most of it offshore. Again, I know this is close to the coast, I know this is close to the beach, but this is not going to be a total washout along the beach. Really, for the next 3 days, there will be periods where there's rain, thunder, and heavy rain at times, but it will not be a total washout. So we look to Thursday, and then there's the low now over southern Louisiana, just to the south of New Orleans. Again, at this point, it might be a tropical depression. Either way, it's still a pretty big rainmaker for the Louisiana coast, Mississippi coast, Florida coast, and the southern half of Alabama and Mississippi. So let's go from Thursday on into Friday as this gradually moves off to the north. This is at about 5 o'clock, and you're going to notice all of Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, it is now to the east of center, which means our winds will be out of the south-southeast. That is a juicy tropical air mass that is flowing in here, and that higher moisture level, higher moisture content is going to mean we will probably have better coverage of rain. Again, it won't rain all day everywhere, but when there's that much moisture to work with, it's pretty typical that we see decent rain coverage. By the time we get to Saturday afternoon, this is basically fizzled into just a mass of moisture. There's no more central low, nothing tropical about it, but that high precipitable water in the air will still make for some decent rain coverage as we roll into the Alabama weekend. Nothing severe with this. We will have such a saturated atmospheric profile and virtually no wind shear at all. I know sometimes when you get to the east of center, that's where we look for those, little spin-ups, but this is just not a strong enough system for anything like that. So by Sunday afternoon, you can't even make out a definitive, focal point to look at. It's just leftover moisture and isolated to scattered thunderstorms across the southeast. So I think this part's interesting because, this is going to be the most impactful part of this, is the amount of moisture that's in play. So this is precipitable water values. It's a fancy term for how much water content is in the air available to fall as rain. The anomalies for this, or difference from normal for this time of year, through the roof. You're looking at about 100, 20-25% of what the normal is for precipitable water. So that's a lot of moisture to work with in the highest levels, obviously down where you're seeing those very, very bright greens. 3 inches, that's a incredibly high number, but very common with tropical systems. So by Thursday afternoon, you can start to see those brighter greens moving into central Alabama. And this is why I think our best rain coverage will be on Friday. Notice just the absolute flow of tropical air being advected up into Alabama, into Mississippi. And that's a lot of moisture to work with. Once we get things firing off in terms of thunderstorms, we should see decent coverage. And with this, when you have a really high moisture content in the atmosphere, you tend to get these tropical downpours, pretty heavy rain. Again, our atmospheric profile, our sounding is going to have, us close to saturation all the way up to about 15,000 feet or so into the atmosphere. So a lot of water in the air. By Saturday, you start to lose a little bit of that. You're still seeing those bright greens over Louisiana, the Mississippi Delta, and hit and miss. We're still looking at high precipitable water values over central Alabama. But then by Sunday, it begins to fade, and there's still a lot of moisture on. Don't get me wrong, but we start to see those numbers become less impressive, and thus our rain chances will go down. So speaking of rain chances, look at our rain coverage. This is NDFD data, and this is basically looking at the probability of seeing rain over a given area. So Thursday, the focus, again, the Florida Big Bend, southwest, southeast Alabama, southern Mississippi, down to the coast. That would be Gulfport, Biloxi, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Pensacola, all the way down the Big Bend area. So then by Thursday night into Friday, the shift of this will give the highest rain chances Friday in southwest Alabama, southern Mississippi, of course, Louisiana once again. And that might be where our highest rain totals are at for this, honestly, is going to be places like Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette, Gulfport, Hattiesburg, even Mobile in southwestern Alabama can be thrown in the mix there. But you can see the focus on Saturday shifts even further to the west, and then it starts to die down as far as the overall coverage. And understand, you see this green on here. This isn't just blanketing that we're going to have rain all day. It just means where our best coverage potential is going to be, and you can see that gradually shifting off to the west as we go through the next several days. So again, this is a big rainmaker. That's really it. Winds with this are kind of going to be negligible, unless you're talking about small craft out in the Gulf. But this is a look at WPC rain totals. This is through Sunday, so really through the more significant days of this. And you notice Mobile, Baldwin, and Escambia and Mobile counties all in that range of 2 to 3 inches. Even a highlighted area of 4 down there right along the coast near Dauphin Island. And the highest rain totals down to the south of Lake Charles and Baton Rouge, we have a bullseye of about 7 inches. And then for north central Alabama, again, it's going to be hit and miss. We're north of the circulation, so we don't have the most direct rainfall, but we'll still have heavy rain at times with this as it progresses and unfolds over the next several days. So let's go now to the 3K view. This is high resolution model to show that it is not a blanket swath of rain and will not just be a total washout. So this is Wednesday into Wednesday afternoon. This is 2 o'clock, and very similar to what you just saw on the composite radar, you're going to have bands of thunderstorms that are out ahead or above the center low. And at this point, the low might be centered right over the coast from Miramar over to Gulf. That's not something to be scared of. A center low, we have those all the time. And this one at the center might have 30-mile-an-hour winds. You're going to have winds off the Gulf, 10, 15, 20, gusts to 25. Again, I want to stress, this is not a big wind event for us, a big wind threat. This is 2 o'clock on Wednesday, so scattered thunderstorms rolling through. But then you go to 7 o'clock, and it dry from Gulf Breeze to Panama City Beach. So we'll have periods of rain, periods of heavy rain at times, and thunderstorms, but not a washout. By Thursday, now the center low is just to the west of Dauphin Island, Gulf Shores. And so we're still going to see some bands of rain move onshore, but again, it will not be an all-day rain. You will see these rolling in off the Gulf from time to time. Southerly winds will probably hit their peak on Thursday on the eastern side of this low, as we'll have some good southerly flow. And this is probably when our winds are 10, 15, 20, 25 miles an hour at times. So it'll be breezy along the beach for sure, but that's not tropical storm force. That's not anything scary. That's going to create some surf issues and rip current risks. So with that, we'll segue to our rip current risk. And again, during the day on Wednesday, we don't have the best wind profile, so our winds are actually not coming straight off the Gulf on Wednesday. Even though we're going to have decent rain chances, it's not until Thursday, when the low has shifted to the west, that we will have a stronger south to southeast wind, 10 to 20, gusts to 25. And that's just going to create a high risk of rip currents, choppy conditions for small craft, and really that's about it. You can have that with clusters of thunderstorms in the summertime as it is. So partly sunny, scattered thunderstorms all along those beaches here, really from Thursday into Friday. That'll be our best rain coverage, and then it'll start to drop really Friday into Saturday here moving forward. So that's kind of a look at the beach standpoint. So now we're going to take this section by section, okay? Let's start with north and central Alabama, and we'll take it the next couple of days, looking at potential weather impacts and what they could be. Thursday, thunderstorms are going to be isolated. One of the things I think we'll see happen is a lot of the bands of rain will set up just along the Gulf Coast and extreme southern Alabama along US 84. And what that'll do is that'll block our convective ability and our convective coverage further to the north. So again, I don't think Thursday's a very high coverage day, better chances of rain gradually as you go south. Friday and Saturday, slightly higher impact days, simply because we'll be looking at better rain coverage, but again, not a washout, just heavy rain at times, and that's probably our biggest threat is heavy rain. Tropical downpours. There's a lot of moisture to work with, so as these come down, you'll get soaking rains, and we'll keep an eye on the flood concern, but it's not an immediate thought here unless we see rain over an area time and time again. And then Saturday we'll continue with that higher coverage, though it looks like by Saturday afternoon we start to see coverage ease, especially in the eastern side of the state. Probably western Alabama, west of I-65, we'll still see pretty good coverage on Saturday. No severe and no washout, I don't think. We will have periods of sunshine, but again, the rain could be heavy at times. And let's shift now towards southern Alabama. So this will be kind of along and south of US 80. And again, take the same approach here. Thursday, Friday will be our higher impact days. That's when our rain coverage is probably best. It'll be highest on Thursday, gradually dropping by Friday and Saturday. Again, no severe expected with this. Heavy rain, though, at times. Thunderstorms become isolated by Saturday. And for the Gulf Coast, again, our highest impact is probably going to be on Thursday, because Thursday, again, the center low is going to be shifted just off to the west of these coastal locations. That'll mean freely southerly winds coming in here, and that's probably the biggest thing is you're going to have wind gusts 10 to 20, gusts 25, rough surf, high rip current risk, but nothing that is going to remotely resemble a tropical storm, a hurricane. This is a big rainmaker, and sure, we could see this upgraded and get a name, but a name doesn't make it any more impactful. It just gives it a name. And I think this will end up getting a name. I think it'll end up being the fourth named storm of the season. And again, that's just kind of semantics here. Now you kind of know the impacts, and we'll keep watching this as we progress through the week. But that's kind of your in a nutshell. That's not in a nutshell. That was a pretty deep dive into it. So we'll look at here the tropical satellite one more time. And again, that 40% risk in the northern Gulf here over the next couple of days. And again, like I said, I think our biggest thing is going to be heavy rains with this, rip current risks, and if you were looking for the rain, this might be exactly what you were looking for here. So again, we'll have more updates in the days ahead. Hope you guys have had a good start to the week.